Hey kiddos. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to check our work. So what you should have just done is this right here. Okay, you should have just finished this. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to check our work. So I just wanted to remind you, remember that our goal is to be able to use details in the text to make inferences about our reading. But what are we adding to that? What are we adding to that? We are adding wrap, right? We are adding the restate, answer, prove part to our goal. So you had 3 cards to read. We'd actually already read these before, and we had already made these inferences. And so remember, like last lesson, you had your inferences in front of you and then you put them in wrap. Today's lesson, you had to kind of remember the inference that you made and then put it into wrap. And then tomorrow, you're going to have to make brand new inferences, okay? So here's our card, and I'm going to walk through the steps with you. I'm actually going to do it on this page. I'm going to walk through the steps with you, and we're going to kind of go through like what your answers should be. Now, I know not everyone's answers are going to look exactly the same because when you're writing, no two person's writing is going to look exactly the same. But you will be able to know if you got close to what I had, and it will kind of help you make sure you're on the right path, okay? So we know good readers read the question first. Why was Micah hiding? And look, kiddos, right here in your box, it said using wrap, why was Micah hiding? Okay, so I'm going to read through and I'm going to use my blue highlight bars to highlight some clues that I'm going to use when I have to prove how my answer is correct. Micah hid behind the bushes. Soon a group of older boys walked by talking and laughing. Micah's heart was beating fast. He tried not to make any noise. Micah waited until he could not hear the boys anymore. Then he picked up his books and walked home. Okay, so I'm trying to think, why is Micah hiding? Okay, so listen, kiddos. I see a lot of this where we highlight the Micah hid behind the bushes. Okay, listen. We already know that he hid because it says it right here. Why was Micah hiding? The part that we want to really pay a lot of attention to is this big part right here that says, why was Micah hiding? So this doesn't necessarily have to be a clue. But where it says that a group of older boys walked by, and then we know that his heart was beating fast, okay? And then he waited until he could not hear the boys anymore. Those are some really good text clues because that's not normal behavior, right? I don't jump into the bushes and hide every time I hear someone talking, no matter if they're older than me, younger than me, or my same age. I don't hide from people when they talk. So he's definitely something about hearing those older boys and his heart beating fast. What do I know about my heart beating fast? I've been running, I've been working out, I'm nervous, I'm scared, any of those things. And he's waiting until he can't hear those boys anymore. So you have to think about, this isn't normal behavior. So these are things that stand out to me. These are clues that can help me figure out maybe why he was hiding. So let's think about what we know. What do you know about a kid who's walking home from school? He's hearing some older boys. He hides from them. He tries to make no noise, and his heart is racing the entire time. What do we know about when our heart races? Like we said, we've been working out. Well, Micah wasn't working out. Maybe he's nervous. Maybe he's scared. Well, what would he be scared of? Well, it says he was hiding from the older boys, right? So why do we hide from people? Maybe because those people don't treat us nicely, okay? So what could our inference be? That Micah was hiding from the boys because they were maybe bullies, or maybe he was afraid they were going to pick on him, okay? So in my box on restate, I know that I pull words from the question. So I would say, Micah was hiding because, and look, kiddos, it says right here, why was Micah hiding? Micah was hiding. You see how I get all of those words from my question? Because the older boys were bullies. That's my answer, right? That's my inference. That's where I used those clues in the text that are in blue. What I know about those clues, I put them together and I made an inference, okay? So that's my inference. But here's the hard part where I have to prove. Now remember, when I prove, I always start with in the text said. Now I'm going to go pull word for word what I highlighted in blue to write down here. Now, you do not have to write it all down. You can pick one sentence, maybe 2 sentences to write down. Okay, so let's look here. Let's see. Let's write down the part where it says Micah's. And if your text clues look different than mine, if you picked a different sentence, as long as it shows that he was scared or he was something about the older boys, anything like that will be fine. So I'm saying Micah's heart was beating fast, and then the other one that I highlighted. Micah waited until he could not hear the boys anymore. What does this tell us? His heart's beating fast. It tells us that he's scared, that he's nervous, and then he's hiding from them until he can't hear them anymore, which helps us make that inference that the boys were bullies, right? Good job. Okay, let's do number 6. Same thing. Good readers read the question first. Why did Jenna go upstairs? Now, this one's kind of a hard one. On our test that we took last week when you did these, we kind of struggled with this one. And that's okay. So we're going to walk through this one too. Jenna went upstairs and quietly peeked into a dark room. She listened for a moment and then went back downstairs. She washed the dinner dishes and then she studied for an algebra test until Mr. and Mrs. Olson got home. Okay, so I need to find some text clues, right? Those clues in the text that are going to help me figure out what's going on. So remember, clues in the text, my background knowledge, put it together to make an inference. So right here, these are 2 of the text clues that I picked out. She's peeking into a dark room, right? She doesn't hear anything. She goes downstairs, and then she studies for an algebra test until Mr. and Mrs. Olson got home. Okay, so let's think about what we know. Obviously, Jenna is in high school because we're talking about algebra, right? That's not something we learned about in elementary. We know that she's at somebody else's house. How do I know she's at somebody else's house? Because it says Mr. and Mrs. Olson. I don't know about you. My parents, my last name used to be Harris. So I don't call my mom and dad Mr. and Mrs. Harris. What do I call them? Mom and dad, right? I call them mom and dad. So if she was waiting on her parents to come home, this would say she studied for an algebra test until her mom and dad got home. But it says Mr. and Mrs. Olson. Okay, so she's at somebody else's house. We know she's in high school because she's studying for a test, an algebra test. And we know that she went upstairs, looked into a dark room, and listened for something. What do we know about high school girls who go over to other people's houses while the adults are gone and waits for them to come home? Think about you guys. Why would a teenage girl come to your house while your mom or dad or grandma or grandpa left and then leave when your mom, dad, grandma, grandpa got back home? They're babysitting, right? Okay, so Jenna went upstairs. So let's restate. Why did Jenna go upstairs? Jenna went upstairs because, okay, I'm pulling those words from the question. Answer, she was babysitting, okay? Now, what we need to still do is this hardest part, which is where we prove, right? And we always start within the text it said. That's our sentence stem that we use every single time. And this is where, again, we're going to pull word for word from the text, okay? So we can say, Jenna went upstairs and quietly peeked into a dark room. And then down here in this other blue, we can say she studied for an algebra test until Mr. and Mrs. Olson got home. Okay. All right, kiddos, let's look at it all together. Jenna went upstairs because she was babysitting. In the text, it said, Jenna went upstairs and quietly peeked into a dark room. She studied for an algebra test until Mr. and Mrs. Olson got home. Okay, kiddos, look, we're using the clues that we talked about. We're putting them into our answer. Into our paragraph, and it's proving our answer. Very good. Okay, last one. Let me move my little camera. Okay, here we go. Using wrap, why did mom light candles? Okay, here we go. Mom lit 3 candles. Okay, again, a lot of us are wanting to take a highlight bar and put it right here. But guys, is that a clue? No, we already know that her mom lit the candles, right? It says it. It says it right there. Why did mom light the candles? We already know that. Okay, so this is not a clue, okay? So mom lit 3 candles. There, that's better, she said. Claire turned off her flashlight. The house was quiet except for the sound of the wind blowing through the trees. Oh my goodness. the wind blowing through the trees, and she had a flashlight on. Okay, those are two really good clues to help me figure out why in the world is Mom lighting the candles. Well, there's lots of reasons to light candles, right? Miss Megan loves to light fall candles. I just got new fall candles in, and I love to clean my house and light the candle so my whole house smells like pumpkins, right? But is that what happened here? No, we have to use the clues that are given to us to help us figure out why she lit these candles, okay? So we know that Claire turned off her flashlight and that she could hear wind blowing through the trees. So let's think about, we already found the clues. Let's think about our background knowledge. What do we know? Well, what do I know about someone who has to use a flashlight? It's dark. When do we use a flashlight? When there is no other light, when it's dark outside. Well, what do we know about it being dark outside and being able to hear wind blowing through the trees? We know there's probably a storm going on. So what happened? The electricity went out. Okay, very, very good. So we're going to restate using words from our question. Mom. Oh, it is definitely like this. Okay, that's still not right. There it is. There we go. Lit the candles because, so I'm using those words from the question. Why did Mom light the candles? Mom lit the candles because their electricity was out. Uh-oh. Sometimes even teachers don't spell things right, kiddos, because their electricity was out. Okay, very good. Now the hard part, we got to prove it. Well, we already know from the first two, how do we always start proof? In the text it said. Okay, here we go. Let's look. I'm going to pull these two clues that I highlighted. That's why, kiddos, it's so important for you to use those highlight bars, because when I come back over here, I immediately know where to look because I can see what I've highlighted. Okay, so it says Claire turned off her flashlight. The house was quiet except for the sound of the wind blowing through the trees outside. Very, very good. Guys, that's a rock star answer. Look at this. Mom lit the candles because their electricity was out. In the text it said, Claire turned off her flashlight. Oh. This is why we always reread our work before we turn it in. The house was quiet except for the sound of the wind blowing through the trees outside. Y'all, this is Rockstar. Okay, so what you're going to do now, kiddos, is you're going to go back to your agenda. And on your agenda, it's going to say you have an exit ticket to do. So you'll go find whatever the exit ticket name is on the agenda. So then you'll go find that on Google Classroom, do your exit ticket. And again, if you are struggling, if this was hard for you, if your answers do not look anything like my answers, if you're not using in the text it said, if you're not using word for word, if you're struggling with this, please let me know. We are taking a test over this week. Okay? And so it's really important that if you're struggling and you need help, you need to let me know. Okay, kiddos? All right, I can't wait to see your exit tickets. And remember, I am always here if you need me. Okay? Bye.